Good morning. Today we'll be dealing with the middle ear. Main objectives to be learned today are the boundaries of the middle ear or the tympanic cavity, the middle ear ossicles, auditory tube, the two muscles, that is the tensor tympani muscle and the stapedius muscle, the middle ear cavity, also called as the tympanic cavity or the tympanum. It's a narrow air-filled space situated in the petrous part of temporal bone. It is wedged between the external ear as well as the middle ear. Its shape is cubical. Contains a lateral wall, a medial wall, anterior wall, posterior wall, roof and floor. So lateral wall, so the area just opposite the tympanic membrane is called as the tympanic cavity. The area above the tympanic membrane is called as epitympanic recess. So communication posteriorly, it communicates with the mastoid antrum through the auditus to antrum. Anteriorly, it communicates with the nasopharynx through the auditory tube. The main contents of the middle ear are the ossicles, which comprises of malleus, incus and stapes, ligaments, muscles, that is the tensor tympani and stapedius muscle, vessels supplying the middle ear, nerves, chorda tympani and the tympanic plexus. So continuing with the boundaries, the roof is formed by a thin plate of bone called tegment tympani. This separates the middle ear from the middle cranial fossa. The floor is a thin plate which is also called a jugular floor. It separates the middle ear from the superior bulb of internal jugular vein. The medial wall presents the tympanic canaliculus, which transmits the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve. The anterior wall, also called as the carotid wall, in its upper part there is an opening for the tendon of tensor tympani muscle. The middle part contains the opening of the auditory tube. The inferior part is perforated by superior and inferior sympathetic carotid-tympanic nerves and the tympanic branch of internal carotid artery. A thin plate of bone separates the middle ear from the internal carotid artery. The processus cochleoformis is a bony septum which is present between the openings of tensor tympani and the auditory tube. It is continued backwards. In its posterior part, it forms a hook-like projection or a pulley for which the tendon of tensor tympani muscle hooks around it and turns laterally to reach the upper part of the handle of malleus. The posterior wall, also called as mastoid wall, in its superior part there is an opening which is called as the auditus to the mastoid antrum. Fossa incudis is a depression which lodges the short process of the incus, and pyramid lies near the junction between the posterior and medial walls. From the pyramid, there is an opening in its apex through which transmits the tendon of stapedius. The stapedius takes origin within the pyramid. There is a canaliculus for chorda tympani situated lateral to the pyramid, which transmits the chorda tympani nerve into the middle ear cavity. The medial wall, also called as the labyrinthine wall, this separates the middle ear from the internal ear. There is a bulging called as promontory, which is produced by the first turn of the cochlea. This is grooved by the tympanic plexus. The medial wall also contains an oval window called as fenestra vestibuli. This is closed by the foot plate of the stapes. It leads into the vestibule of the internal ear. There is a prominence of facial canal which runs backwards just above the fenestra to reach the lower margin of the auditus. The canal ends in the stylomastoid foramen externally. Below the promontory is another rounded window called as fenestra cochlea. This is closed by the secondary tympanic membrane. It opens into the cochlea. Sinus tympani is a depression behind the promontory, and processus cochleoform is also seen in the medial wall, which has already been dealt with in the previous slides. Coming to the arterial supply, anterior tympanic, which enters through the pituotympanic fissure. It's a branch from the first part of maxillary artery. Posterior tympanic. So this is entering through the stylomastoid foramen. So posterior auricular artery gives the stylomastoid branch, which in turn gives the posterior tympanic artery. Inferior tympanic artery is a branch derived from the ascending pharyngeal artery, which enters the middle ear through the tympanic canaliculus. Superior tympanic and petrosal both are branches of the middle meningeal artery. Superior tympanic enters through the canal for tensor tympani, whereas the petrosal artery through the hiatus for the greater petrosal nerve. Tympanic branch and carotidotympanic both are branches of the internal carotid artery. Carotidotympanic artery enters through its anterior wall, while the tympanic branch through the artery of the pterygoid canal. Venous drainage either into the superior petrosal sinus or pterygoid plexus of veins. Lymphatics to the preauricular and retropharyngeal group of lymph nodes. The tympanic plexus of nerves is the tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve. This supplies the mucous membrane of the middle ear, auditory tube, mastoid antrum, and air cells. Superior and inferior carotidotympanic nerves are the plexus around the internal carotid artery. These are sympathetic plexus. They are vasomotor to the mucous membrane. So main function of the middle ear is it transmits the sound waves from the external ear to the internal ear through the chain of ossicles. Thereby it transforms the airborne vibration into the tympanic membrane to liquid-borne vibration in the internal ear. The intensity of the sound waves is increased 10 times by the ossicles. So clinical anatomy, otitis media or middle ear infection. So it's mainly transmitted through the pharyngotympanic tube or eustachian tube or auditory tube. So that is basically from pharyngitis or throat infection. This spreads to the middle ear. So once it is infected, so you are going to find pus will be collected. So this has to be discharged externally. So it may occur laterally through the tympanic membrane to the roof. So it may also cause meningitis or brain abscess. Backwards into the mastoid hair cells or sigmoid sinus. So fracture of the middle cranial fossa may occur. This leads to bleeding through the ear and discharge of CSF. So perforation may occur in the pars flaccida, thereby causing damage to the cauda tympani nerve. Auditory tube or pharyngotympanic tube, also called as eustachian tube. This is trumpet shaped, which connects the middle ear to the nasopharynx. It is basically divided into two components, the bony component and the cartilaginous component. So now coming to the bony component or the bony part, it forms posterior and lateral 1/3 of the tube. It lies within the petrous temporal bone. Lateral end is wide and opens into the middle ear cavity, while the medial end is narrow, so it is called as isthmus. Its margins are irregular or jagged for the attachment of the cartilaginous part. Lumen is oblong, it is being widest from side to side. So coming to the relations, superiorly you have the canal for the tensor tympani muscle, medially for the carotid canal, laterally is the spinosphenoid. So medial to the spine of sphenoid is the cauda tympani nerve, and lateral to the spine of sphenoid is the auriculotemporal nerve, and more lateral is the temporomandibular joint. The cartilaginous part forms almost triangular in shape, forms anterior and medial walls. So it forms 2/3 of the tube. This is present in the sulcus tubae, that's a groove between the greater wing of sphenoid and the petrous part of temporal bone. It is triangular in shape. It forms roof and medial wall. Lateral wall and floor are completed by fibrous tissue. Apex is irregular attached to the bony part. Base is free and it forms a tubal elevation in the nasopharynx. So muscles attached are levator valli palatini attached to its inferior surface and salpingopharyngeus muscle attached to the lower part of the pharyngeal opening. So main arteries supplying it are ascending pharyngeal artery, middle meningeal artery and artery of the pterygoid canal. The venous drainage is either into pharyngeal or pterygoid plexus of veins. Lymphatic drainage into the retropharyngeal group of lymph nodes. So nerve supply, Its ostium is supplied by the pharyngeal branch of pterygopalatine ganglia. The cartilaginous part is supplied by the nervus spinosum, which is a branch of the mandibular nerve. The bony part is supplied by the tympanic plexus of glossopharyngeal nerve. So main action is it equalizes the pressure of the middle ear with that of the atmospheric pressure. So once the tube is closed, either because of blowing the nose forcefully, so this can be opened by either swallowing or sneezing action of tensor, by the action of tensor as well as the levator palatary muscle. Throat infections may pass into the middle ear through the auditory tube. So inflammation of the auditory tube may occur either because of common cold or sore throat. So this causes ear pain. So it's aggravated by swallowing due to blockage of the tube. Pain is relieved by installation of decongestant drops in the nose. So this opens the ostium. So now coming to the ear ossicles, mainly comprises of the malleus, incus and stapes. Malleus resembles a hammer. It's large, placed laterally. Main parts are head, neck, anterior process, lateral process and handle. Head lies in the epitympanic recess. It articulates with the body of the incus. It provides attachment to the superior and lateral ligaments. Neck lies against the pars flaccida. It is related medially to the cauda tympani nerve. The anterior process connected to the pituotympanic fissure by the anterior ligament. Lateral process provides attachment to the malleolar folds, that is the anterior and posterior malleolar folds. Handle is attached to the upper half of the tympanic membrane. So coming to the incus, this resembles a tooth or an anvil used by the blacksmiths. It comprises of a body, a long process and a short process. So the body is large. Anterior surface articulates with the head of the malleus to form the inguido-malleolar joint. The short process is attached to the fossa inguidis. The long process projects downwards and is expanded in its lower end to form the lentiform nodule. This articulates with the head of the stapes to form the inguido-stapedial joint. Stapes is stirrup shaped. It is the smallest of all the three ossicles. It comprises of head, neck, two crura and a foot plate. Head is small. It articulates with the lentiform nodule. Neck provides insertion to the tendon of stapedius. The two crura are attached to the foot plate. The foot plate is oval in shape. It fits into the fenestra vestibuli or the oval window. The joints of the ossicles I already mentioned: inguido-malleolar joint, and incudostapedial joint. So incudomalleolar joint is a saddle joint, while incudostapedial joint is a ball and socket joint. Both these joints are surrounded by capsule. So accessory ligaments, three in number for malleus, superior, lateral and anterior, one each for incus and stapes. These stabilize the joint. All ligaments are extremely elastic. Tensor tympani. So this muscle is derivative of first arch. It originates from the base of the skull and auditory tube, that is the cartilaginous part. Its tendon passes through a bony canal, reaches the middle ear. It bends sharply around the processus cochleoformis and finally inserted to the handle of malleus. Nerve supply is by the mandibular nerve. It damps down intensity of high pitched sound waves, thereby it is protective to the tympanic membrane. Stapedius, it's developed from second arch. It emerges from the pyramid, inserted to the posterior surface of neck of stapes. It's supplied by the facial nerve. So this also damps down the high pitched sound waves, thereby it is protected to the internal ear. Otosclerosis, so a condition where the footplate of stapes is fused to the margins of the fenestra vestibuli. It leads to deafness. So this can be surgically corrected. So assignment. So boundaries and contents of tympanic cavity, miliar ossicles, auditory tube, tensor tympani muscle and stapedius muscle. Otosclerosis.